Hi everyone, it's James Henry from the Great British Bake Off. Going to do a bake along today for National Cream Tea Day. Rather than traditional scones, we're going to go American and we're going to have strawberry shortcake. Strawberry shortcake uses biscuits, which is the American version of a scone if you're from the south, or if you're from the north of America, they often use pound cake. We're going for the southern favourite today. We're going to start by preheating our oven. It needs to be a hot oven, so 220C fan or 240. Crank it up nice and hot. Okay, to get started, I'll take you through the ingredients. We start with 260 grams of plain flour, a tablespoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, nice cold butter from the fridge, so that is 115 grams of unsalted butter, 180 millilitres of buttermilk, some extra flour for dusting for when we roll or flatten out the biscuits, and then 20 grams of butter that we're going to brush onto the top as they come out of the oven. Then to serve, we're going to have some lovely Tiptree Little Scarlet strawberry jam, some lovely Rudder's clotted cream, and some fresh strawberries on top. You can cook them in either a cast iron skillet or just a baking sheet lined with baking paper, and you'll need a 5cm cutter. So we'll start by putting the dry ingredients into the flour. So we've got our flour, we tip in baking powder and salt, just mix them around with your finger. Then we plop in the butter, and we're going to cut this in and rub it in just as you would a crumble. So I always start with just cutting it up a little bit more with just a plain dinner knife. So you got it into slightly smaller pieces, and then we'll go in with our hands. You're going to want to rub these in to, they're about a fine breadcrumb, maybe up to a pea-sized piece of butter. The chunkier the butter, it will make it a little bit more flakier. And you just want to go in with your fingertips, not the whole hands, to keep it as cool as possible as you're rubbing in. This is very much like making a scone mix. They're just a little bit lighter and fluffier than a traditional English scone. And again, if you're from the deep south, these strawberry shortcakes are made from these American style biscuits. And then if you live up in the northern states, they're made with pound cake. But for cream tea day, I think it feels right to have a biscuit. Okay, we've been rubbing in for about 2 minutes. It's got a nice crumble mixture, some big bits, some smaller bits. That will add to the flakiness. Just brush off the flour into the bowl, and we're going to go in with the 180 mils of buttermilk. I'm going to use a spatula or a silicone spatula to pour it in and use that to do the initial mix up, because this will be a wet mixture, and that's good, because in bread and scones speak, the wetter the better. It helps with the rise. So now we just gently mix this in to the crumbs, and it will come together. There's a bit of a wet dough mix. We will get in with our hands in a little bit, but to do the first mix, it's easier to do with a spatula. As you see, that's nicely mixed, and it's ready to tip out onto our board. As it's quite a wet mix, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of extra flour just on the top for when I pick it up. Take the tea towel off, and then I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on your work surface. Oh, quite a generous bit. So we don't want to overhandle this. We're not going to use a rolling pin. I like to flatten it down, and you want to flatten it to just below the thickness of your cutter. So probably a good 1.5 centimetres, 2 centimetres. But if you want them extra flaky, a good trick is, once you've flattened it down, fold it in half, and then fold it in half again, and that builds up the layers, and then flatten down from there. This will make probably around 9 biscuits in total. And unlike scones, when we put them in the pan, and I'll put a little bit of flour into the pan just so it doesn't stick on the bottom, we want them just touching. Flour your cutter, push straight down, don't twist. If you twist, that's what makes them go wonky, although I am quite good at a wonky scone. And start off putting the first one in the middle of your baking tray, or if you're using cast iron skillet, in your skillet. And then we kind of do them to, it's a bit like a flower pattern that it's all going around the centerpiece. Just push them out gently. Flour well, straight down and pull out. By keeping them together, they should all rise together, and it helps them from falling over. As they say, the proof will be in the baking. With your scraps, again, just roll them together gently. Don't overwork it because you want to keep the flakiness. If it's sticking a bit on the bottom, just a bit more flour on both sides. And again, just flat it out with your hand to just below the cutter. I should get about 3 more out of this. So again, they're all nicely joined. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 8 there. You could make 9 just by joining that last little one together and make your final. I'm just going to cook the 8 as they are. That will be the chef's treat. I'll have that one later. We're now going to pop them into that hot oven for about 10 to 12 minutes till they're nice and risen and golden brown. I'll go and take them in the oven now. Here we go. It's a nice hot oven. I'm going to start with 10 minutes and check them then. So whilst the biscuits are in the oven, let's get your little piece of butter into a pan. You can do this in the microwave, low temperature. Just let that melt gently while they're cooking. Okay, the biscuits have been in for about 12 minutes now, nice and golden. I'm going to take them out and let them cool. Next to our melted butter. Ah, that's hot. So whilst they're straight out the oven, we want to get the melted butter onto them so that soaks in. Just gives it that extra buttery flavour. So drizzle it all over the top of each of the biscuits. Use it all up, go around all of them a couple of times. You'll see it will disappear as it soaks in. It just gives them a lovely rich flavour. And then let them cool totally and we'll be ready to build the lovely buttery beautiful biscuit shortcakes. Hi there, so the lovely buttery biscuits are out of the oven now. They've cooled for about 10-15 minutes, and if we break them open, you'll see they're lovely and flaky inside. We're going to start building them now, so we'll leave that on there. We're going to start with slicing up some lovely strawberries from Tiptree. We're going to start by slicing a few strawberries that we're going to put in the middle, and then a couple of pretty ones for the top. These are beautiful strawberries, nice and big, so just take the leaf off, and for inside, you're just going to want some nice, fine slices to tuck in. You only need about 1 strawberry per shortbread or shortcake. And then from top, I like to just cut them in half. So you can see the beautiful middle, and we'll plop that on top with a blob of cream. Okay, we're going to start with some lovely little scarlet strawberry jam. Just put a little spread of jam on the bottom. See the little strawberries in there, beautiful. Next we're going to go for some Rodder's clotted cream, one of my favourites. If you have a look, a beautiful crust on the top. And again, a nice big scooping of cream placed on top. Flatten it down a little. And then the slices of strawberries. Probably get 3 slices on here. It's going to be a nice big. Then we pop the lid back on. Go for another little blob of cream on top, because you can never have enough clotted cream. So I'm going to trim this so it's a bit thinner, and then just have that sitting on top. And there is your delicious American, from the deep south, southern shortcake biscuit.